Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest questions in business, a real puzzle that's challenged leaders for decades. We're going to talk about how to transform customer service from something that just feels like an expense into what it really is, a powerful engine for profit. All right, let's get right into it.
This is the question that keeps pretty much every business leader up at night. Is that service department just another line item, a necessary evil you have to pay for? For so long, the answer was just a feeling, right? A gut instinct for the best leaders. But let's be real, in the world we live in now, gut feelings don't cut it. We need cold, hard proof.
So, I'm not going to bury the lead here. The truth is, after decades of research, the evidence is overwhelming. Great service, it's not just some fluffy feel-good thing. It is a straight-up profit-making machine. And today, we're going to follow the money and show you exactly how that works.
So, first things first. Before we get into all the cool strategies, we have to connect the dots. How do you actually draw a straight line from a happy customer all the way to the company's bottom line and shareholder value?
Okay, so this diagram looks pretty simple, right? But that little question mark, well, that's been the million-dollar question for researchers for decades. I mean, for giants like FedEx or Disney, it was always an article of faith. They knew great service mattered. But the rest of us, we needed the numbers to back it up.
And boy, do we have the numbers. Check this out. A huge study on Fortune 500 companies found that just a tiny 1-point bump in their customer satisfaction score led to, on average, a jaw-dropping $275 million increase in their market value. That is insane. Now, okay, that's a Fortune 500 number, but just think about what that kind of impact looks like for a business of any size. It's huge. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Because this relationship, it's not a two-way street. Making a customer happier is great, right? It boosts your ROI by about 2.4%. But losing their satisfaction? Oh, that's a disaster. A 1% drop can tank your ROI by over 5%. So the big takeaway here is this. The pain of losing a customer's goodwill is more than double the pleasure of gaining it.
Okay, so we've established it. Great service equals real money. The question now is, how do we actually do it? Well, a great way to think about it is like a sports team. You got to have a good offense and a good defense. So on one side, you've got offensive marketing. Think of this as using your awesome service like a giant magnet. You're out there building this amazing reputation to pull in new customers, grow your slice of the pie, and maybe even charge a bit more. And then you've got defensive marketing. This is all about protecting what you already have. It's about using that service to keep the customers you worked so hard to get in the first place.
So these two diagrams from the research really lay it out for us. See, on the left, that's your offense in action. Great service builds your reputation, which brings in sales, which leads to profit. But on the right, that's your defense. Here, great service leads to customer retention, which creates profit in a totally different and maybe even more powerful way. Now, you need both, for sure, but one of these has a hidden superpower.
All right, let's get into why playing defense, why customer retention is your secret weapon. Look, getting new customers is flashy, it's exciting, but the real sustainable financial magic, it's all in keeping the ones you have.
You've probably heard this before, and there's a good reason why it's a classic rule in marketing. I mean, just think about it. All the cash you burn on ads, on sales, on special offers, just to get one new person to walk through the door. Keeping a customer you already have, it costs a tiny fraction of that. A weak defense, simply put, is just bleeding money.
And if you need more proof, here it is. This is the showstopper. Legendary research from Bain & Company found that by increasing your customer retention by just 5%, just 5, you can boost your profits by up to 85%. Let that sink in. That is just incredible leverage. A tiny little improvement in your defense leads to this massive explosion in profit. That right there is the superpower we're talking about.
So you're probably asking, how does that even work? Where does all that profit come from? Well, it really boils down to 4 things. First off, your costs go way down. You're not constantly spending money to replace customers who are walking out the back door. Second, your loyal customers just buy more stuff more often. Their lifetime value skyrockets. Third, they trust you, so they're willing to pay a little more for a brand they know has their back. And finally, and this one is huge, they become your best marketers. There is nothing more powerful than a friend telling you, you have to try this place.
Okay, so if we all agree retention is the goal, how do you measure it? How do you know if you're actually getting better? You need something better than just asking, hey, were you happy with your service? And that's where something called the Net Promoter Score, or NPS, comes in.
It is brilliantly simple, and it's basically become the gold standard for figuring out how loyal your customers really are. It all boils down to one question. See, it doesn't just ask if you're satisfied, it asks if you'd be willing to put your own reputation on the line and recommend the company to a friend. That's a whole different level of commitment. That's the ultimate test of loyalty. When you see the scores for brands you actually know, it all starts to click. You look at companies like USAA or JetBlue. Their scores are through the roof. Their customers aren't just customers, they're fans, they're advocates. Then you've got others with, well, not so great scores. This one number gives you a super clear picture of whether your customers are an asset pushing you forward or a liability holding you back.
All right, so let's recap. We've connected the dots from service to profit. We know that retention is the superpower, and we've got a way to measure it with NPS. So, the big question is, where do you start? What do you actually do to make a real difference?
This right here, the service profit chain, is the roadmap. And the key thing to see is that it's all connected. Now, don't worry about every single box here. The most important takeaway is this. It doesn't start with the customer. It starts with your own team. When you hire the right people, you train them well, and you actually empower them to make decisions, you get happy, loyal employees. That's the first domino. That leads to them providing amazing service, which creates loyal customers, which, you guessed it, drives profit and growth. It's a chain reaction, and you absolutely have to start at the beginning.
So, let's bring it all home. What's the final checklist? If you really want to flip the script and turn customer service from a cost into a profit engine, this is what it comes down to. But don't just see this as a to-do list. It's a system. It's a loop. And it all starts and ends with your people. Get the right people on the bus, and then give them the keys. Trust them. Measure what matters, both with your team and your customers, so you know where you stand. And please, never forget that the line between a happy employee and a healthy bottom line is not just real, it's direct, it's proven, and it is incredibly powerful.
So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Forget all the data and the charts for just a second. Just think about your own life as a customer. What's that one thing, it could be something really small, that a company could do to earn your loyalty forever? Because whatever your answer to that is, that's the real secret. That's the heart of everything we've covered here.